Pretty good.
Luke 15, verse 11. Luke 15, verse 11. Not singing. I don't miss it. Stick to what God gave you. And it reads, Jesus continued, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Not long after, the younger son got together all he had and set off to a distant country. And there he squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out into a citizen of the country, who set him in his fields to feed the pigs. He longed to fill his stomach and with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired men have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me one of your hired men. So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servant, quick, bring the robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fatted calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. So they began to celebrate.
Amen.
When I was studying the word, when I was getting deeper and deeper into this parable that Jesus was giving, I found myself getting lost, starting to have mind overload with so much information and trying to figure out where do I want to begin from this passage. My main focus is if you want to stay with me, verse 12, where the younger son decided upon himself to go ahead and leave and ask his father for his portion. In that, I came to my own and I was saying, why is it that when the young at some age want to leave their parents, leave from their safety of that home and go out into the world and figure things on their own? The problem with this is the enticements of the world, the enticements of the devil, the enticements of evil that we do not acknowledge. From a young age, as parents, when we first have our kids, we want to protect them. What do? They're always on our hip. If you think about it, when they're little babies, little kids, when they first start walking, you always carry them, regardless if they could walk at the beginning. When they got a little bit older, you always made sure if you went shopping, such as my mom did, we always had to have a hand on the buggy wherever she went. All three of us had a hand on the buggy. And sometimes we would slip under clothes, sometimes we would try to run and hide, but she would always find us. She didn't want us going anywhere. And then when we got a little bit older, when we played outside, Mom would always say, be in eyesight. You can't go too far. Be in eyesight. If I can't see you, come back in. Then when we got a little bit older, when we lived with our grandfather, we would play across the street football with the neighboring kids. And the rule was be home before the street lights come on. Even though we were across the street, Mom would still come out early because she's a very protective woman. Tell us to come in before the sun even started to set. Because she was very protective of us. When you got older, when you got about high school age, that's the talk of the bird and the bees, and you know how that went. And they tried to give you a little bit of influence, a little bit of a caution toward the world, what they knew, what they experienced. And in those experiences, you learn, okay, you're telling me this, but I haven't experienced it for myself. And now with so much technology, so many things have our attention. If I had more time, I would really get into the depths of what God gave me and what's taking our, Okay, since y'all want to dive, might as well go ahead and talk about it. The platforms that are out there, YouTube, MySpace, Facebook, telling myself with MySpace, right. Facebook, Twitter, can't even begin to think of all the other ones. TikTok. A new dance crave every week, or a new move, a new joke that you get every single time. And all it's doing is taking your attention away from God. God has always been the one who's taken care of us, always looked over us. And yet you have these devices that can be used for good, that can be used in a positive way, but we use them in a negative way. Why is that? Have you ever asked yourself, what do you have more time for? How do you wake up in the morning? And the first thing you don't say is, thank God, just let me see another day. It's, let me see what's on this TikTok. Let me see what's on this Twitter. And if you actually think about it, what are you gaining from this? I remember one time, my own son, he had got a hold of my phone inside church, and somehow he got to the camera, and then the next thing he did, he gives to the videos and he records. The first thing he does is introduce himself. My name is Trey. This is my channel. I still got it on my phone, man. And that's what this world has done to us. It has taken God out of the picture and replaced it with everything else. If you look at it right now, this is what the world is giving you so much. What is the issue with today? As young people, the first thing you want to do is look up something, find out what the new dance craze, what the new move is. But if you really sit back and think, what are you gaining from this? What is it to gain the world and to lose your soul? Yes. So much of this has happened in this day and age. If I really wanted to really bring it up, when you start your day off, you're supposed to thank God for another day. Thank God for letting you see another day. Thank God for the job you have. But yet we start off with one of the most basic things. We don't even say hey to our parents. We don't even recognize that they brought us into this world, that they're still taking care of us. And that's the same thing God has done for us. He's brought us into this world. He's taking care of us. Gave his life for us. Yes. Yet we do not recognize that he's the Alpha Omega, the beginning, the end. And with this, here's the problem. Same thing as the prodigal son. He went out and squandered away his living. And with squandering away his living, the problem is, what do you do after? You weren't thinking about what was going to be the aftermath of that. If you look at the way things are today, the world, they give you so much glamour. Right now, sex sells, anything sexual. I never saw it before in my life. I saw a commercial. It was a man and a woman in workout clothes, slow motion, and pouring water all over them. Man giving announcements about what they were selling. The whole commercial was for water. Let that sink in. You're selling water, but you got two people slowed down, throwing water all over them, but it's supposed to be for Aquafina. That's what's in the world today. Right. So with that said, let's think about this. With all these new things that keep on coming out that take your attention away from God, take your attention away from what your mother and your father have told you plenty of times. Stay in the house. You don't want to go out there. You don't want to do that. But yet and still, we take that and don't want to listen, and we still want to go out. I can talk about myself for the sense. When I finally decided midway through my 20s that I wanted to step out, but I was still living at my parents' house. I had to come up with a system. I'll go to work, go work out at the gym, wait till they went to sleep, and then I'll go out. I know, Mom, you're right. The surprising thing is the world had my attention because I was trying to get friends. I was trying to be part of the in crowd. I was trying to be part of the it in the factory. But that was the problem. See, to gain all that, and then what happens in the aftermath? You can't take it with you. You can't. It won't go with you. It won't go nowhere. For instance, for me, I would go out drinking, hanging out with the buddies on the weekend. And I know for a fact, either that Saturday or that Friday, Mom and Dad would head up to Clermont. If they didn't, I would go ahead and put my clothes in the dirty clothes hamper. And my bad, I had an extra bag that y'all didn't know about that covered up the smell. And waited till y'all left, and then would wash those same clothes before you got back home. So you would. But this is me trying to fit in the world. And don't get it, don't, I'm just letting you know what it is. That's why I have no problem telling on myself, telling on my past, because I've grown from it. I've grown so much from it. It's such an amazing thing to have God in your life. The worst thing about it was I felt so dead inside at times. I would come to church, and the praise would be going crazy. I would be playing the music, and the music would be dead to my ear. I think I'm playing off, but everybody else is praising God. It was so unexplainable. I couldn't take it. I didn't know what to do because I was sitting on the fence, and so many of us sit on the fence. We think we can come to church for a week or for a day, then go home and do what we normally do and think that's it. And that's not how it happened. Same thing with Samson in Judges. Samson, born Nazarite, and if y'all don't know what a Nazarite is, you can't cut your hair, you can't eat fermented drinks, you can't do certain things. Yet, Samson fell in love at a young age to Delilah. And if you read that text, it said he fell in love. Not that they fell in love, he fell in love.
There you go.
Oh,
that's right.
Come on now.
Just saying.
That's right.
He fell in love. So when Delilah kept on hitting him over the head, it said, nagging him in the translation to death, to find out what his secret was. He finally gave in. And here's the part that got to me, the unequally yoked. He was blessed by God from the get-go, from the womb. Yet he fell in love with somebody who was not of God, who wasn't even in the church, who wasn't even believed in God. And what did she do? Corrupt him. How many of y'all looking for the next boyfriend, girlfriend, know for a fact that you were bought with a price, but you want to choose somebody who is not in the church, that is not even looking at the church? Already right there, one's going to pull the other, and who's going to win? Yes. And the problem with the...
Preaching good now. Preaching real good.
I'm just telling you how it is. The problem with the world today is there's nothing gained by it. You don't read the fine print at the bottom. It gives you all this glamour. It tells you what you can get from it, but it doesn't tell you how to get out. And it doesn't stay with you when it goes bad either. Whereas God, he's been there from the get-go, from the beginning. And yet, you want to leave him to find out what's in the world. My problem with this is once you fall down, you're looking for a way out, and you look for whoever to blame. You said, my parents, if they would have just told me, no, just because they told you what not to do, you still wanted to figure it out for yourself. You wanted to experience life. You wanted to experience that. Here's something that I learned from a young age. Just to leave your parents' house, you're going to need a car. That's an expense. So you got to get a job. Once you get a job, your time is spent working to get what you want. The problem with a job, you have to have a place to live. You have to now have either mortgage or apartment. That's another expense. Living out there, what happens next? You need clothes, you need food, you need shoes. And yet you spend all your time working for that one weekend off to go party and then wake up with a hangover and know you have to start all over again. What are you gaining?
That's a fact.
What are you gaining from all this? Same thing. The same thing could be said the same thing could be said when it comes to life in Christ. God gave his life for you. All you have to do is do what he says. Read your word, pray, fast. All the weaknesses that you have in life, all the weaknesses that you have in your life, knowing that God will give you a way out, that God will work his way, his miracles through you. They're right here in this book. There is no fine printing. Everything is right here in this book for you. It tells you exactly how to defeat the devil, how to defeat the enemy, how to come over your weaknesses. Whereas in the world, you try to learn what it is that you so desire, you can't find a way out. And reflecting back on myself, when I was so down, when I was so hurt, I had so much anger, I had so much problem, I didn't know how to get out. It wasn't until the same way in the verse where the prodigal son said he came into his own. I came into my own and realized that I had to let go of this world. Amen. This world didn't have nothing for me, nothing for me to make, nothing for me to give, to work toward. When I gave myself back to God, it's the most emotional thing. That's why about 2 weeks ago when Bishop was talking, it had got to me so much where he was talking about the prodigal son, how you were dead and you're alive again. How the father ran from a distance, saw his son from a way off. The same way God will come back. He never left you, actually, but he comes there. My son, my daughter. Yes. You were dead, but now you're alive. And welcomes you back with open arms. And here's the one thing I like about Jesus. Where you left him, you come right back at that same area. You don't have to start all the way over. You come right back to that them same doors that were open that you didn't actually fully walk through are still open to you.
Thank you, Lord.
Whereas in the world, once it's over, it's over. Climbing back on from what? From nothing. For me, I have been so blessed by the time I came back. I have said to myself, if it had not been for God,
thank you, Lord,
watching over this man, watching over this person right here, I don't know where I would be. And for me, I have a mindset. This is my take. The enemy, the devil, however you want to call it, the world, knows your weaknesses. They can attack you physically or mentally. See, they take something physically away from you and affects you mentally. Brings you down. That's how I was attacked. Physically, something was taken away from me. Something was hurting me. And mentally, it messed with me all throughout the week. Come to church, and I couldn't even get in the right mindset because my mind was so hurt by what happened to me during the week. And that's how the devil attacks you. Attacks you physically, to mentally mess with you. But if you're physically ready, by mentally getting yourself in the word, nothing can get to you.
Jesus.
Lord knows this is getting so deep for me. I'm still working on it. I still feel that this is an unfinished message, but even though I didn't get to it, the thought from the is welcome back home. That's the one thing that God always does for us. Welcomes us back with open arms. Welcomes us back with his hands held high.
Yes.
It's nothing like to feel that Father's love, those hands around you. Lord, I thank you right now for the times that you have allowed me to come back into the fold. So many of us have fallen off. So many of us have did things that you know for a fact that has hurt you so bad. And yet, when you turn around and say, God, I'm sorry. God, please forgive me. God, give me the chance to come back. My son, you would never left me. I've always been right here for you.
Amen. Yes.
And here's a key thing about Samson. Samson, when he told Delilah his secret, they cut off his hair, they gouged out his eyes, they put him around a mill to grind up grain. His hair started to grow back, and before then, when they first cut his hair, it said God left him.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it said, gave you that little nugget and it said when his hair started to grow back, that was a transition, for God never left him. God was right there the whole time. So when his hair came back, God came back right there. And that's the same thing he does for us every single time. You think because you walked out on him that you can't come back. And here he is right now saying, come back home. Come back to the fold.
Thank you, Jesus.
Y'all pray my strength.
Oh, what a great message by the man of God. Personal prayer of life. Come back to the fold.